Thursday, what is it, February 10th, 9 a.m. We've got a very special guest today. Today's topic is one that I think y'all are going to love. It's called People Over Profit.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
I was thinking of something catchy, and then I'm like, what could be catchier than people over profit? And, if the last 24 months have taught us anything, people are so important. But before we get there, Daman,
got to introduce the man.
Special sponsor, Centurion Trucking, American Logistics. Damon was the first one that said, you know what, I'm going to step up and I'm going to definitely grab you guys and get some sponsorship. We're going to be talking about what Damon does, what his companies do, how he can help you. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about Damon's philosophy of people over profit.
Yes.
So Damon, you know what? It is the way that everything should run. And unfortunately, a lot of things run the opposite P in front of the other P, and which causes issues. So, you know what? Do us a favor. Share with us where this philosophy of people over profit originally came from for you, how it hit you, and kind of what expanded that to where you are now.
Well, I think it was just personal experience going through different employers, and just realizing, the reason that I quit a lot of the jobs that I was at is because either you were forced to do something that was unethical or didn't sit well with your values. And, whether you're not respected at work or whether something comes up, whether even if it's not you, but whether you see someone else being disrespected at work, it's that culture that really set me into the mindset of saying, hey, you know what? You have to put yourself in other people's shoes, and you have to be able to understand what people are all about, and not even only in our own business, but in other people's businesses as well. Right? It's that relationship. What's the most rewarding thing at the end of the day? If you see the end game, it's how we live the game of life, right? And if we looked at it and said, hey, you know what? We just live the way of life of filling our own pockets versus helping people and helping individuals and helping people succeed in life, which option would you want to take? It's a no-brainer, right? It's
for some.
What do you want?
For some.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it should be a no-brainer for everybody. But yes, you're right. For some,
it really should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's essentially the mindset behind it. And there's a couple of reasons for it. Well, one is just common sense for employee retention, right? When you have good employees, you need to put them first. You need to put their needs first. You need to put their wants first. You need to give them whatever. If they're bringing value to your company, why would you want to lose them? Right? There's no business without good employees. And so if you lose the people, you have nothing, whether it's drivers in the driver's seat. If you don't have drivers, you don't have a trucking company, right? If you don't have good administrative staff, if you don't have good dispatchers, you're going to be pulling your hair out. It's one of those situations where if you don't treat people proper, they're going to leave. And again, that was the same reason why I left a lot of the jobs that I was at. And you see it. Yeah. But then you see the opposite side of it too. When you treat your people well, you do really well, right? And the company I used to work for, when I noticed that they were incorporating these principles, and Simon Sinek talks about this as well. He goes, if you give enough people what they want, you'll eventually get what you want, right? But it's a service game, right? And if people understand that, hey, we're out there to provide service and value, and if we do that properly, right? And we take into consideration other people and their businesses. We take into consideration what the drivers go through when they're on the road. Like our drivers are on the road for 6-7 days at a time. It's not an easy job. If we could understand that we get to go home and take that shower, we get to go home, have that nice hot meal, we get the opportunity to pull something out of the oven and fridge and eat it ourselves.
See our families.
Be with our families every night. Yeah. That's such a luxury. And to be able to understand that and to incorporate that into a business philosophy, at our work, I always say, hey, you know what? If we need something from the drivers, feed them first, right? These guys are, for days at a time. If we can't service them when they come into our office, then what are we doing as a company, right? If we can't respect them and understand and put ourselves in their shoes, that these guys are away for so long, and when they come in, how do we treat them, right? It shouldn't be a normal conversation. If we can understand, hey, what these guys go through on a day-to-day basis, then it's a win-win situation,
Yeah.
right? And we'll see this in business too. I've been on the side of carriers where I've worked with brokers, and like I remember, it was a Friday, booking a load on a Friday, and and the market was extremely slow. And I got this load, and it was one of the bigger brokers that I booked the load with. And I'm like, oh, good, finally got the load, booked it, right? And I'm happy the driver's going to be moving back to Vancouver. He's coming home, and 10 minutes later, I get a call from the broker saying, hey, you know what? Sorry, we found somebody $100 cheaper. And I'm like, you're kidding me. You
They
canceling
actually
a-
told you that?
Yeah, the broker told me this on the phone.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah.
like, at least lie to me. At least lie to me in this situation.
Well, I mean, but when somebody calls you 10 minutes later and says, "Hey, customer canceled," it's a lie, right?
Yeah, of course. They found somebody cheaper. Yeah.
But I can't believe they actually said maybe they're $150 cheap, $50
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't have to
They're
cancel.
hoping for a bidding war.
Yeah, it could be.
Oh, it wasn't.
But that-
It wasn't even that. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that, and he was literally laughing on the phone.
What?
And yeah, laughing on the phone, saying like, hey, sorry, we our other office found somebody $100 cheaper. They took the load, and and that's the thing. I mean, they don't understand that the driver that's trying to get home for the weekend, trying to get home for Monday, the amount of stress that he has on him, and you're doing this for $100. I mean, and that's the whole thing. People over profits. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
And we see this in the situation now, with the floods, with everything that's happening in British Columbia, all over. I mean, the companies are in the driver's seat right now. And which relationships are you trying to maintain? Are you trying to maintain the ones where people were always bidding, outbidding you, or are you preserving those relationships where you actually have a relationship with somebody? And what we try to teach our staff is preserve the relationship. It's these things are temporary. Whether the rates go up and down in the market, it's temporary. If you can make a living from what you're doing and not killing the carrier, preserve that relationship, right?
Yes.
And that's what we've been very successful at. And some of the relationships that we have are 15 years plus, and we're fortunate, and that's the satisfaction that we get at the end of the day, is preserving those type of relationships, even teaching our staff to build those type of relationships, because those bonds that you build with the person on the other side, it's invaluable. Yeah, those are the gratifications.
The late Bob Proctor, God bless his soul. He was my first mentor ever in this industry. Died on February 3rd, unfortunately. He said something early in my career. He says, listen, money comes from the amount of service you give. If you're not making money, it's because you're not giving enough service. And he says, whatever service means in your industry, your product, your service, your commodity, he says, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's the amount of value you bring to the market, you get rewarded by that value. And, as a corporation like yourself, and even as an individual, if you bring value, but your team doesn't bring value, your team's the front line. So the more value everyone brings to the market. So I encourage all you salespeople out there, they're saying, I'm just not making any money. It's because you're not bringing enough value to the market. And you know what? In all transparency, you might be thinking of your pocket before your people. And your people being your customers, your suppliers, your shippers, your receivers, your colleagues. Like, it's such a, this industry, unfortunately, it feels so secretive, right? Like, everybody's holds all these things close to their chest. I remember when I first started the industry, trying to sit down and still, even before I left the corporate world and started high performance logistics sales, I remember going in, because I'm always trying to talk to people, and going in and saying, hey, do you have a couple minutes to, like, some really high up salespeople? And it's like, yeah. And I start asking questions, and it's like they're giving me vague answers. And part of me sits there and says, do you really believe that if you give up your secrets, that, like, they'll even work for me? And this is the big thing, right? Is certain things that work for Damon or DJ will never work for me, and certain things will. And it's that process, that strategy that you come up with to put people before profits. Ryan says, I remember at my first job, we blocked the carrier on the link and kept the post up. That's why we used a different carrier on each load. No relationship. So Ryan actually worked for a company that did this kind of stuff. Love that loyalty. 100%, Lisa.
Yes,
It is about
100%.
loyalty, right? And it really is a shame. And here's the thing. In 2008, Damon, you know this. I lost total respect for this industry. I hated this industry because everybody was cutting each other's throat. And it's funny because as I say that, I know everybody wasn't. Just in my world, I saw everybody cutting each other's throat. And you know what? It's funny because when I look back, I realize I wasn't having a relationship with my customers. I was giving them are you kidding me? I broke my back for the last 5 years for you. And now there's a little blip in the economy when literally the entire bottom fell out. Like there's a little blip in the economy telling me you need a discount because I was looking after profitability for my company. I wasn't thinking, okay, if we ride this wave and we help our customers achieve their goals, like Damien's talking about, customers before the profits, what would the company look like after? We'd have dozens of loyal customers. And instead, $37 million company went down to a $300,000 company in 6 months. So if y'all want to put profits before people when things get tough, that's what you're looking for. Damon, I love the philosophy. So continue, brother. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and you mentioned these stories, but sometimes you were saying that story about the sales guy, and you're asking them questions and they're not really giving you answers. Sometimes they don't even know. Right?
Yeah. Sometimes
they're
just making, that's so funny you said that. The first company, I'm not going to, hopefully, I don't think this is on anywhere, hopefully, but the first company I worked for, it was, we're asset-based. So I'm like, okay, I want to know how many trucks. Oh, one person says 50, one person says 500, one person says, like, does anybody really know? Nobody really knew. That was the thing. There was no truth.
They had one truck. They had one owner.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the truth, actually.
Did they really just have one truck?
They really did just have one truck. So they could say whatever.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. Because they got a CVOR, now they consider themselves athletes.
Yeah.
What's that, Damon?
It's crazy.
I said you're bending the truth at that point, right? It's so again, everyone has their limitations, and that's the thing about people over profits is if you're an employee at that corporation, and if you don't believe in the brand, you're not going to perform.
You're out.
Yeah, and I mean, and what disservice Damon, to everybody involved.
Damon, I got a really, really good question that Stephanie just asked here that I really, really want you to answer. She says, agreed. However, when you're held to a percentage, this will not work. Love your thoughts. How do you convey this to your employer to get them to understand people over profits?
Oh, you don't want my answer? No.
It's all about commitment.
Listen, it's a great question.
Mm-hmm. And what I'll say is it's all about commitment, right? I mean, as an employer, even for us, like we've lost money on loads. It doesn't matter if there's a percentage in place. Sometimes you just have to take the hit and do the work because it's a long-term relationship that you're looking at. And have that conversation. Don't be scared to have that conversation with your customer and let them know and say, hey, listen, we're taking a hit on this. But this is what we're looking for the long term. This is our intention. Always have to voice your intention. You never get in life what you don't ask for, right? So you have to make sure you make the ask. And that's the important thing and that's the whole thing about building that relationship, right? When you say, hey, you know what, I'm maybe losing on this side, but hopefully we can make it up down the road, right? A lot of people will open up. Or, again, as soon as you get that other side to start committing or start communicating with you, that's when you start winning in this, in this industry or in any business. I mean, the whole thing is about communication. We can't run a business unless we learn how to communicate.
So, Stephanie, I'm going to share another answer for your question, and I'm probably going to be pissing some people off, but I really don't care. Here's the thing. You as a salesperson, as a professional, have to be congruent with the company you work for. If you don't see the same, then things go wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're looking to close an account at 6% GP, and there's a whole bunch of work in place, you have to be honest with yourself when you're going into closed business. Is this profitable for not only me but the company? And here's the the 4 pillars of transportation that I wrote about in my first book is profitable, because if the company's not profitable, they're not around. But yet held to a percentage, if the company says you have to make 17% or 16% or else it's a no-go, that to me is a big issue. Because here's the thing, what if a dedicated supplier like Daman, you had 10 loads with him, it took 2 phone calls, one at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, to set the loads up for the week and set the loads up for next week. Took very little time of your team members, but you made $100 a load at 10%, right? So you're making $1,500 a week GP, there's zero work. That's a good deal. Now, if you're making $1,500 and it takes 4 hours a day to book each truck, it's not a good deal. I'm going to tell you that. How do you convey that to your employer? You go in with all the data, say, here's the deal, here's the amount of work, here's what's needed to be done, here's the margin. Now, with the amount of work and the margin, here's our ROI. And if they say no, find yourself a new company to work for. Because, and I'm sorry to be that blunt, but here's the thing. I would much rather see you, if you've been there 1, 3, 5 years, leave, start from the ground up, because get to your success point that you're at right now, and in 5 years from now be a million times happier, because you're able to move like water. Things happen. So many people are afraid. Oh, I've been there 5 years and I've built up a book of business. Yeah, not realizing in 12 months, maybe 36, maybe maybe 24, you'll be right where you are. So much happier. So, and my second point to that, sorry, DJ, my second point to that is,
no, go ahead.
Go after the right business. Like really qualify your customers.
Customer profile,
deal with the people.
Sure.
Yeah, your customer profile, because here's the thing.
Remember, your customer profile is not just your customer. That's your company you're working for too. Remember that.
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything.
Everything.
One of the greatest exercises as a salesperson is when I sat down and said, who do I want to work for? Like, what is a type of company? What do the people act like?
Yes.
How do they respond? And who do I want as my customers? Who do I want as people in my operations team? What type of characteristics do I want? And when you lay those, you have the baseline, you have the foundation of an unbelievable business. Because really, in the end, as salespeople, we're the face of that business. And you could find a great customer that would be super loyal, but it's going to be % margin instead of a 17%. Give that up. I believe anyways, you just got to find I'm going to say the easier ways to make it work, but how can your efforts be compounded? When I was doing this, I dedicated all of my freight because I wanted to move twice as much business with half the people. Because and here was the main reason for that, is because if my customers can speak to the same people all the time and not 5 different people, 2 to 3 different people, I was happy. Start talking to 5 and people don't talk to each other and things happen, right? So, sorry, go on, Damien or DJ.
And then, the other thing too is a lot of salespeople operate in a fear mindset, scarcity mindset. And I see one of the comments and it says, there's a lot of other companies out there. But, if we work in that operation, if we operate under that context, then we're not realizing our own value, right? And that's what we have to realize is what type of value are we going to provide in this industry? What type of relationships are we going to build for our customers and with our carriers? We have to make sure those carriers are going to survive. So we got to fight for those margins to make sure we got to pay our carriers and drivers properly, right? And these are the companies that are going to have long-term success, are the ones that understand the value that they bring to the table. So you have to perform as a salesperson, as an agent, right, with that customer service. And you got to understand everything from what your customers' needs are down to what the driver's doing. And that's the important thing is, and if you understand that, you're going to start adding value because you're going to be able to explain that to your customers. You're going to be able to get that value for this type of service that you're providing. Otherwise, it's probably not the right customer that you want to work with, right? Yeah. Going back to that profile, your customer profile. If you're already going to be squeezed on margins, I mean, if you can't communicate that you need higher margins going down the road, then it may not be best account to get into. It's just going to provide more headaches down the road. You're going to have that same feeling over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and that's why I say leave now. Like, and again, hey, we got to be careful because this show is not about, hey, leave your present company.
Yeah, we are not trying to get people to leave your jobs.
There are so many companies out there that are salespeople focused, that help. They're not only salespeople focused, team focused. That say, hey, listen, I got you. What do you need? I got you. Perfect example is I had a colleague, and he was doing large numbers, got headhunted by this company, came over, did nothing. And he said, it's support. Support was the issue. And the company was like, come on, man, we're giving you a ton of support. But the support wasn't helping him. He went to another company and he went gangbusters, hit way over $1 million GP in under 18 months. And because he found the right fit for him.
You guys know
Ryan says bought a Sprinter van. They were asset based. But Ryan also says, exactly, you might get along great with a prospect, but they waste your time. You're paid on commission. 100%, Ryan. And the thing is, I mean, now you're getting into a whole different area of customers wasting your time. Lisa says there's a ton of different companies out there. Stephanie's agreed. She says, you guys are the best. Oh, thank you. You're the best.
Thanks, but so I was watching Lewis House and Dan Millman yesterday, and I have to put this in because I know Damon's gonna love this. But they said something yesterday that I heard that really, I mean this magnifies everything here, but it's money magnifies. Remember that money magnifies. Mm-hmm. If they got their money from kindness, the more money they have, the more kinder they're gonna be. If they got their money from greed, the more greedier they're going to be. Yeah. It's just what it is. So the higher level of success, you're gonna be able to see if there's somebody like Damon who clearly the higher he reaches, he's saying it, wants to give. It's giving. It's about giving. I mean, he gave us our shot. He's he's our first sponsor, and that's because he wants to give. You could see the kindness in the things that he's saying. So it's the more he gets, the more he's going to give. That's my opinion. But I think it's true, and it's you can see that right away. So the more, just remember, money magnifies. Money magnifies.
You know what a great test is for all salespeople out there. The more and more I speak to CEOs of logistics companies and asset-based companies about training, the more I realize the ones that are willing to invest in their team are the ones that really care about it. You want to see if your upper management care, tell them you want to start a sales training program that's going to help you double your business. Will they pay for it? And I don't care if it's our program or another program, but ask them that question. And if they will not, if they say, well, you're a commission salesperson, you got to pay for it on your own. Even if they won't let you expense it, then seriously question the mentality of management to help their salespeople achieve their goals. I've spoken to a lot of companies. I've trained with a lot of companies. And the ones that say, you know what, I want to help my salespeople be the best, even if they decide not to stay here 7 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road, that's when they're here. Because if I create a legacy and I help that person achieve their goals, I believe they're going to stay with me. And, for all of you out there that are questioning that, I remember having a conversation with Kyle, and we're going to bring Kyle on in a couple of weeks. But I remember having a conversation with him, and I said, what's the goal? He goes, I want my salespeople to be the best salespeople they can be. And I said, you're not worried about them leaving? He goes, not a chance. He goes, I can't worry about that. He goes, but I want them to be the best salespeople they can be. He goes, A, they're going to be happy. B, we're going to get better customers for the company. He goes, because it's great. You can have a salesperson close accounts and that customer never pays, or they're complaining, or they take 300 days to pay. He goes, what good is that customer? I've paid out the commission to the salesperson months ago and I'm only getting it back now. He was like, I want my salespeople I want to give them every single tool to maximize their talent and ability. That's like what Damon's talking about, people before profits. Yes. You might spend $10,000 in the next month equipping your salespeople. But you know what? The $1 million you're going to make in the next, 9 months, it towers over that. And this is one of the big things that I struggle with every day when I speak to companies. Now, it's not the time. It's like, it's not the time. Every single second is the time to empower your people to be more, do more, and achieve more. Like this is what it is. And right now, the toughest time in our industry, empowering people
And
to
then
empower
it's the other thing.
themselves is everything.
Yeah, it's the other thing about living with no regrets. I mean, if you have, for your staff, for yourself, if you're not putting your best foot out forward every single time, imagine having staff that are untrained for the next 5 years, right? Imagine you put that investment into them now. Imagine what you could potentially get 5 years from now, right? Or you can look back in 5 years from now and look back and say, hey, probably should have trained that staff member, and imagine the value our customers would have received in the last 5 years for all the training and investments that we put into our people. There's such a long-term payout for this. And the biggest thing is like not having that regret of saying, hey, we didn't put our best foot forward, right? And looking back and saying, hey, should have done this, could have done this.
Damon, that's because of your perspective. Unfortunately, there's people out there that 5 years from now, they're going to be like, man, I made a lot of cake. I'm out of here and I'm good. They're going to be doing the whole. I've seen it. Like in 2018, I saw so many companies go, yo, dude, man, we're friggin' rocking it. We're making tons of cake. They're bitching and complaining like I've never seen before. Well, who do these people think they're? I go, hold on, whoa. Were you loyal to these people last year? Or like hold on here. I understand, like you talked about at the beginning, the broker said they got it for $100. But you know what? You just did the same thing in 2018. You had a customer that was loyal to you, and the spot market gave you higher rates. So you dropped that customer, went to the spot market, but now you're pissed off because the customer's telling you need to do it for $400 instead of $500. Like, sorry. In good and bad, it's like a marriage, right? For better or for worse.
It's a partnership.
For richer,
it's
for
teamwork.
Poor.
In the end, we got to.
It is, and it's like, come on, guys. If you're going to, if you as a broker right now, if you're going to go to the spot market and you're going to ditch your present carrier because they might want $50 or $100 more to make it work because maybe their expenses are a little higher, and you're going to ditch them over somebody else when the tide turns, don't expect to get treated any different. Like it's like, this is what it is. It's to be in the market and say, hey, listen, how can we help each other get better? Hey, you know what, Damon? I love this business, but my drivers are spending so much time on your dock. What can we do together to help us move those drivers along? And that's the conversation Damon's having with customers. Is he saying,
it's that simple thing that we could relate it to as simple as feelings. How does the person feel when they, there's sometimes even anyone, there's sometimes you get that phone call and you just don't want to pick it up because of that feeling you can already feel before you even pick up that phone.
Not good.
So that transfer of just feelings in general, people know when you're being lied to. People are smart, kids that are 5 years old know when they're being lied to, right? So they'll call you on it. And imagine how us as adults, if we're conveying this as adults and we're having to play these games, how is that going to make you feel as an individual, right? What type of relationships do you want to build that way? It should be again, transparency, communication, honesty, right? I mean, it just gives you a peace of mind, right? You want to be able to pick up that phone, and in transportation, we get calls 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning. And you don't want to hide your phone away because you understand that when someone calls you at that time in the morning, it's an emergency, and that's it. It's that whole transference of feeling. Good relationships, you build it from the get-go, you're gonna have better outcomes in the long term. And it's instead of temporary, you do it long term, right? And that's the thing is if you look at the end game and say, hey, I'd rather be in business for the next 20, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. How long do I want to do this? And that's the great thing about transportation is you can build great relationships and they can last, your entire career.
Yeah.
You don't have to go.
I have customers for the past 18 years.
Exactly.
18 years, same customer. And it's like we read each other's mind and they call up, they go, I need this, this, and this. And I immediately know these are all the parameters I need to operate under. 18 years and still going strong. And I've been in and out of the business, had my own company, not my own company, have a training company. Like you know what I mean? This is what it's all about. And how many of you would rather that? Like, I mean, honestly, Would you rather fight for things or have things easy? That was one of my big issues when I first got in this industry, is I thought it was like cradle to grave, man. Like I gotta, and we realized, no, this industry can be fairly simple, not easy at times, but simple. Certain people get along. You don't. Everybody you meet doesn't become a best friend.
Yeah.
No,
Beautiful. Any
but if you
closing
know
thoughts,
that,
Damon? Go ahead,
go
DJ.
ahead.
No, go ahead, DJ.
No, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say if you do, but finding the aligning yourself with people who in the end, like Damon keeps saying about the other person, he's thinking of the other person first, what they're going through, the other person. Find people who align with you like that, and you feel like they are thinking of you first before them. That's going to be the key. I mean, you said something about Simon Sinek, about his quote, and I love Simon. But he was that's just a slight or different version of the Zig Ziglar quote, which I put on my email templates every day. You can get everything you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And that's really, if we lead with how can we help that person succeed and not what we're going to succeed, we're going to succeed in the end. And that's what Damon's doing here. So, man,
what about thinking about it like this, guys? I just had a thought, and I want your guys' thoughts, and I know we're going to go a little long here.
Yeah.
What if your customers were your children?
Ooh.
Okay, so think about this for a second. As a parent, you're going to do, like, you have one piece of pizza left in the fridge, and that's it. You're going to starve so your child can eat.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's true.
That's all there is. There's no question where I'm just going to take a bite of the crust. It's my child is going to be nourished, even if I have to starve. And what if, and I don't know necessarily if it's a topic that we're going to dive deep into, but what if you had that perspective with your customers? Okay, so love is unconditional.
With your employees,
you might feel like your children take advantage of you, but you know what? In the end, they see all of that. And what if your customers and your colleagues like that? Interesting thought. All right, DJ,
Damon,
pull us out of here, brother.
Yeah, Damon, you want anything to say before we finish up here?
I think Simon Sinek, talks about this as well, where he says, you're allowed to get anything you want in life. Just don't step on anybody else along the way. And that's just what it comes down to is, don't put anyone down. And that's what you're doing when you're choosing profits over people, right? So choose the people over profits. It's going to give you the most satisfying, outlook, I guess, and for the future. It's the most satisfying thing that you'll receive out of this industry is building people, helping people, that service-oriented focus as opposed to just profits, right? The profit, and I'm getting to an older age now, so, and everyone just says, you're at that point where nothing's gonna go with you at the end of the day. Whatever we do on this earth, I mean, it should be principle-based, value-based, as opposed to just greed. Right? Greed just destroys things. I mean, it's just common sense. You don't want to fall into that trap. It's a trap, right? But build those win-win relationships with each other. I mean, there's so much that comes out of it. The relationships you're going to build. I mean, when we go to some trade shows or anything else, our customers will drag us to like 10, 20 different customers and say, hey, you got to meet these guys and see what they do. This is what they do for us. You have to work with them. And
turning customers into raving fans.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the best feeling you can get as a salesperson, as a dispatcher. I think on your last show yesterday, you were talking about those fries going into Japan and they were being flown over. But, we're doing a lot of the fries too into different Asian markets as well. But, and the people that are handling the supply chain for McDonald's sent us a nice letter, after the whole floods and stuff, and saying like, how much they appreciate our relationship with them, and to have those type of letters.
And that's worth more than the money, right? That's usually worth more than the money.
Yeah. Someone just saying a thank you or appreciating what you're doing, it's worth way more than the money.
Way more. Yeah.
Right. And how that's going to motivate you to do better, better, and better is unreal. It just motivates your staff. I shared it with the entire staff and saying, hey, you know what? Good job, guys. This is what you're putting out there, and this is how you're building these relationships, because I know that's going to be the most rewarding thing for them to be able to do their job and for them to be able to push forward and feel good about what they do. You feel good about what you do. It's anytime you walk into an office, you want to see people with smiles, right? If they're only focused on money, imagine what their faces are going to look like when you walk into that office, right? Do you want to walk into a happy environment, a positive environment, or do you want to walk into something that's toxic?
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
Great way to end it.
Man, thank you.
Wins and losses Friday tomorrow, my friends. It's going to be a big one. Thank you, Damon. Thank you for your sponsorship. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here, and thank you for putting people over profit, my friend.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for
having me.
Yeah, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the sponsorship, and like and subscribe, guys. If you do catch us later or after on our YouTube channel, Sales Chatter, as well as LinkedIn, you can find follow me and Dan. We are live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30. All things sales, life, just doing the right thing. If you want to start your day right, start it with us. Quote to end this, and I picked this before, but man, I love it. You guys, it's like these shows lead to the quotes almost. So this is Gloria Steinem, and it's: the art of life is not controlling what happens to us, but using what happens to us.
Perfect. You said
to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.